So this guy was like, he has a bunch of hardware stores. He has like 7 locations. And he's like, I need lunch every store 5 days a week, fucking 30 people at a store, 40 people at a store.
That's cool.
And so I did that, and it helped us like get back up and running. But when I first started, we didn't have any money. So it was like me and like a very small staff again. And I was doing a lot more heavy lifting literally than I should have. And I went on a bad streak. I hurt my back again. I started taking some pain pills, and then I relapsed.
Right.
After 13 years of being clean.
Yeah, that's something we talked about at length the first time you were on the podcast.
When I was clean, yeah.
Right.
So I was clean from 2007, like September 2007 to about September of 2020, and then I used a lot, and nobody knew, and my wife didn't know, no one at work knew, and it's I'm what's called a high functioning addict, which is the most dangerous kind.
Explain what that means.
I could still use a fuck ton of drugs and then go and work as hard or as well and be like when you successful at my job and still use all that stuff and nobody would know, and I didn't really have to feel any consequences physically, financially, or things like that. Versus non-functioning, like if you're not if you're like an addict and you're not functioning, you're low functioning, you're living under a bridge. It's easy to be like, I'm living under a bridge. I just probably can fucking do something about my life.
Right.
But when like I have 2 restaurants that are humming along and I'm doing okay, it's hard to. Because I was already in the recovery before, I knew what I was doing was wrong. I just didn't care.
Right.
So I relapsed hard for September, October, November, December, January, February, March, till about April 1st. And March 29th, I went back to detox. And I spent a week in detox.
We spoke about this when I had first time I had seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you told me, and it was like a little striking for me because like I just saw you, and you just told me, and I'm like, okay. Well,
because I had a lot of shame and embarrassment because I've been so open about my recovery, so I didn't really want it out there and like just everyone know that like I wasn't clean anymore.
Right.
So I felt it took a long time to get out of my own head. Luckily, I just celebrated a year again. April 1st was
Amazing.
1 year clean again. Thank you. But like when I feel like I was, wore that on my sleeve hard in the restaurant community, in my personal life, in any kind of way I could like be a champion for recovery, I was. And then to fucking be lying to so many people about using for as long as I was, and then to actually feel that just, even though I shouldn't have, the shame of a relapse, I just wasn't really broadcasting it.
Yeah, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, human nature and human life, like shit happens. It's all how you react to them. Whether it takes you 5 minutes or 5 months, I mean, still the bounce back is really the most important point of the whole thing.
Well, I mean, that goes, to the pandemic. You asked me, eventually, I was scared that restaurants were going to be a thing. I didn't know what I would do. And eventually, things were going fine, but I was still scared because September 2020, we still didn't know. We still kept getting closed down here. We reopened. So I just got a case of what we call as the fuck-its and was just like, fuck it.
Right. Life is what life is.
Yeah, I don't fucking care. I'm going to fucking use this shit and really, I'm going to use this shit. Maybe I'll die, and I didn't care. I was doing some serious shit that I could have died. Like I had, what I was doing. One of my best friends from high school and college, he actually overdosed and died 6 years ago from.
Wow.
I was very lucky not to.
So you're doing more than one thing.
It was pills. I was doing oxys and Percocets.
Yeah.
And
feel goods.
They only feel good until they doesn't. Like eventually
they go away.
It just becomes a job.
Right. Like you got to get back there.
I would leave my dealer's house with like a bottle of each, and the only thing I was thinking about was when can I come back and get more.
Right.
So that's what I mean. It becomes a job. You're just trying to avoid like withdrawals and all that kind of shit.
So what's the like? I mean, I could imagine getting clean one time is hard enough, right?
This is much harder.
Right, getting clean the second time.
The first time I got clean, I was a 26-year-old kid that only had a fucking job. It's easy. All I had to worry about once you get out of rehab is showing up to work and not using. This time, when I went to detox, I was a 40-year-old man with 2 businesses, 50 people that depended on those businesses to feed their families, my own family of fucking 4 kids and a wife. So when trying to figure out the time, like, so when I was a 26-year-old kid that got clean the first time, my time I fucking had work and I had fucking being in recovery. That's it. As a 40-year-old man with all that other stuff going on, I had to figure out work, family, recovery, fucking, you know, everything else that I had going on that goes along with work, family. Finding the time to do it all proved a lot more difficult. And and also the first time I wasn't coming off opiates, and that shit was harder too. Like this time, like the withdrawals and like getting out of my system, that was a lot more difficult than the first time, which was just like Xanax, alcohol, and cocaine.
So this was harder than Xanax, alcohol, and cocaine.
Might also be because I was 40 instead of 26.
Right.
So everything
is
harder at 40.
The body reacts.
So